On his final day in Washington, D.C., Pope Francis addressed a joint meeting of Congress, a first, calling on lawmakers to help the middle class and the poor. Thousands packed the Capitol to hear the pontiff's speech, including our CBS 6's Joe St. George, who was among the crowd. Joe?
Hey, good evening, Cheryl. We're here at the Basilica of the National Shrine right now for our live broadcast in the noon show. And while this location may have been the site of the most solemn part of the papal visit thus far, his Mass yesterday, no doubt today's speech to Congress, spoken in English, will be the text, the speech, the words will be studied for years to come. It was a joint session of Congress. Rare for a pontiff. In fact, the first time ever that a Holy Father has addressed Congress. Behind the Pope, John Boehner, Vice President Joe Biden as well, Republican and Democrat, both Catholics, listening to the Holy Father's words. Pope Francis touched on a myriad of issues, but he used the lives of 4 Americans to tell the story of the issues that he believes lawmakers should be addressing. The 4 Americans: Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King, Dorothy Day, and Thomas Merton. He spoke about immigration, about the Syrian refugee crisis, hinted at the Cuba embargo. He also, with the Supreme Court justices seated in the front row, said we should abolish the death penalty. It was a speech that touched on a lot of pillars of American life, but he focused a lot on the dream, that is, the United States.
I am happy that America continues to be, for many, a land of dreams.
The Holy Father speaking a short time ago in our nation's capital. After his speech, he then went out on the speaker's balcony and he said hello to about 1,000+ students gathered to greet the Holy Father. As Cheryl Miller mentioned, the Pope Francis will be leaving Washington a little bit later from now en route to New York City and then Philadelphia. His historic visit in the United States. Cheryl Miller continues.
All right, Joe, I just have a question for you. You've been there for all this excitement surrounding Pope Francis's first visit to America. What are your personal thoughts and observations?
I think that this Pope is someone who is uniting a lot of people. I was here when Pope Benedict came to D.C. in 2008. And while there was excitement for the office and the excitement of the Pope, it was, I think, a lot of Catholics interested in Pope Benedict. Here, a lot of Christians, non-Christians alike, interested in the man that is Pope Francis, a message that is very simple. He said one thing, Cheryl Miller, in his speech that I think was very poignant. He said the yardstick which we use to measure others will be the yardstick in time that will measure us. Regardless of your faith, that's something we can all follow, Cheryl.
All right, Joe St. George reporting live in Washington, D.C. And as we mentioned, the Pope will be continuing his United States visit with stops in New York City and Philadelphia.